Welcome to Ultimate DIY, where you learn to be your own handyman. And today we're going to go in this home and we're going to rebuild a kitchen island.
Okay guys, I wanted to say something a little post-production here. The videos are complete. There's going to be 4 of them all together, and because of the TV running in the background, I was not able to actually do a whole lot of talking on this video and explain a lot of things. I did do some voiceover in important parts. So a lot of it you're going to get to kind of watch with a little bit of time lapse, a little bit of music, and get to see the whole process of how I put this together. Now, before you guys blast me, I know there's a couple things you're going to probably pick out that you don't like. One of them is going to be the fact that I built a platform and set these up on it instead of building the actual cabinets just taller. This customer had a budget and a time frame that this had to be done in, and the easiest thing for me to do was to take the store-bought cabinets and go ahead and build a frame under it and then lift them up. So if you're a DIYer, this is a really cool thing for you because you can kind of see what you would have to do something like this, and that it can be done even if you're not a cabinet maker. So that is one of the things. So one of the other things you're going to point out you probably don't like is how I had to use one of the cabinets as a plumbing cabinet. The reason we did that, first of all, is space, where everything was actually laid out, and the fact that they did not want me to cut into their concrete. Now, I easily could have cut into the concrete and moved those plumbing pieces over, and they would have come straight up underneath the plumbing cabinet. The problem with that is that several people in this home were a little bit elderly, and they had breathing issues, and they did not want that concrete dust. The dust I already created, they did not particularly like, and that's why you'll notice I ended up using plastic and plastic off the entire area. So there are reasons that I did the things the way that I did them. I did do some special things in here. You'll notice a little further on into the videos where I take the drawers that are going to be pull-out drawers and I cut openings in the front of those and mounted plugs. And we used not just any plug, but we put the plugs that will have USB chargers on them. So when they're setting around this big bar, they can plug directly into those. So hopefully you enjoy this 4-part series. I should release 1 video each week for the next 4 weeks, so that you can see this all the way to completion. Be sure you see the final completion because I think it came out amazing. So let's get back to the video. So the main problem with this kitchen is there's no counter space. The little horseshoe shaped island takes up most of the floor. So we're gonna fix it by putting in a great big island. Always, when you start a project like this, go ahead and open up the cabinet doors, get pictures of all the plumbing and all the electrical as it was before you start. You may need that somewhere down the road. Now, I love using this extension pole system to put plastic up and plastic off the entire area. That way it keeps dust and dirt out of the rest of the home. They can go on and function as normal and give me time to get everything done. So the original plan is to go ahead and try to reuse all the front cabinets and doors. Unfortunately, that's not going to work in the long run, but that's why I'm taking my time and trying to disassemble everything carefully right now. So to be able to get out our dishwasher, our garbage disposal, and our sink, we're going to have to go ahead and disconnect all of the drain lines and shut the water off. Now, I won't totally disconnect my water lines or cut my water lines until a little bit later in the project.
So the sink itself was cast iron, very, very heavy. So what you're going to have to do is pry it up with some type of a pry bar and then use little wood wedges to keep it up long enough to get your fingers under it. Just don't crush your fingers. This one was so heavy I had to enlist a little help to get it up and out of the opening. The goal is to reinstall an undermount solid steel sink, which is going to be much lighter and easier to mount in an undermount situation. So to get the cabinets out, you're going to find it's generally going to be a combination of screws and construction adhesive holding everything in place. It's also just going to take a lot of brute force to break everything loose and get it out. Watch close here and you'll see a lot of the circles where the construction adhesive was holding the top down. Alright, so now we're going to be pulling down our little pony wall that's in the back of the cabinets. Don't worry because all of the electric has already been disconnected at the box. Another quick tip, you might want to go ahead and have your water shutoff tool out at the meter. You can use the water cutoffs at the sink, but just in case something breaks, you want to be able to shut the water off quickly so you don't flood the house. Trying very hard to be extra careful with the dishwasher because it is the one component that we plan on reusing for sure. One of the things that made this disassembly a little rough is they used a little bitty square bit type screw to hold everything in place. And so you had to find that particular bit to get everything out unless you were just going to rip it off of the wall, which ultimately I did in several spots.
Okay guys, we have everything out. All the cabinets have been removed. The plumbing is disconnected. We're going to end up pulling most of this little counter dividing wall down. I'm going to go around the other side first, pull the trim off and save the trim just in case we need it. And then we're going to see how everything is actually tied into these posts here, because we're going to try to move most of these plugs onto the post. And this height of this is going to go away, and it's going to be a lower level island all the way around. So let's go ahead and get this thing taken apart, and we will see where we're at. Now, one thing to keep in mind is I'm probably with this plumbing, it's coming from way over here, but our sink is probably going to be over here. So I'm going to do one of two things. I'm either going to cut the concrete, or if I can, we may just build another small wall like that we will put below counter level that we can run our plumbing down the center. And that may save a whole lot of work and make it a little bit easier. The big thing you have to remember though, is if this pipe, the drain pipe, is going to go all the way down here, you've got to maintain that 1/4 inch slope, which we should be able to do pretty easily. So let's go ahead and get this thing taken the rest of the way down, and let's see where we're at.
You should always do your best to try to save your trim. You'll find that a lot of trim profiles are discontinued, and you may not be able to match the rest of the trim in the house. So these little cabinet walls are nothing more than sheetrock and 2x4s anchored to the concrete. So you won't be reusing any of this divider wall, so you can use a hammer, a pry bar, a reciprocating saw, whatever you need to do to get it ripped apart. If you watch real close, you can see gun smoke playing in the background. By the end of this project, I had all of the characters memorized and was hearing them talk in my sleep. So at this point, I'm going to end up cutting open the post, trying to get the electrical all reran and figure out how my plumbing is going to come out of the post area. Your post is going to be where your vent is going to be located that goes up into the attic and out the roof. So there are 4 different power supplies coming through the post, all leading back to their own separate breakers in the breaker box. One of them went to the dishwasher, one went to the garbage disposal, one went to the overhead lights, and the last one gave power to all the outlets around the island. So what I did to help myself a little bit later in the project is I went ahead and marked every power line as it came out of the post, telling me what each line was so that I could reconnect later without having any issues. I always find it extremely interesting to look at the original framing and look at all the markings that the original framers used. Now, I did try to save a lot of these boxes and things because I wasn't sure what I was going to end up replacing and what I wasn't. Ultimately, though, I ended up replacing everything new. This is a good example, though, of how I marked the boxes and the wiring so that I knew later where everything went. So I ended up keeping all of these boxes intact until I got ready to rewire, and then I cut them loose one at a time and ran all new wire in new boxes.
Okay guys, power's off. Everything is disconnected from it, ready to come out. I've also marked the tops of all of the boxes so that we know exactly what is what and where it goes. Now I'm fixing to go ahead and cut the waste line here. I'm just going to cut it somewhere back in here straight. We're going to tie back in and carry it out because the sink is probably going to move from this side to way down at the end. So I'm fixing to cut that. I'm going to go ahead and cut the copper lines, and I have some little shark bite caps that we're going to use temporarily just so they can have the water back on and using it tonight. And then I'll be able to finish taking everything out of here and be ready to start reconfiguring the new cabinets. So let's go ahead and get that done. And all I'm going to do is basically just use a Sawzall here, and then I'll use the Milwaukee cutters to cut these out. Now I could cut that with a Sawzall, but this is soft copper, the bendable copper, and when you start cutting with the Sawzall, it makes it really hard to make these caps go on without leaking. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this first. That one is totally disconnected now. I'll probably go ahead and cut it here too to make it easy to, actually that should come out without any problem. We'll just Sawzall that. So let's see now if I've got enough room to get my little cutter in. These cutters work really well. All you're going to do is take it, slide it in place to here, clip like that, and then you just turn. And it has an arrow on it telling you which direction you turn, which is this way. So if you get turned around and you're working somewhere in a tight spot and you're not sure which direction you're going, it makes it very simple. And you'll just keep turning until it actually clips. The nice thing about this is it'll tighten itself. I will have a little bit of water coming out of here. Let me get my little bucket. Even though I have turned the water off and drained it, you'll still have a little bit, which is normal. And just like that, try to catch that water. Now I can feel it. I know this is my hot, so I am going to go ahead and mark that for future. So we are going to put an H on this line. We know when we're hooking up where our hot is. Okay, and then this one I'll just put a C for cold. All right, now we're going to do the cold line. Push it in until it snaps and return. And make sure you return in the correct direction. Try to get it upside down. And that one should be loose. Drain the water out. There you go. Now, and all you do with these caps is they are going to just slide right on. And you'll feel it, it gets all the way to the stop. And you can turn water back on. It's just like that, they're ready to go. So now we'll take the rest of everything else out. I'm gonna go ahead and test my water pressure first to make sure everything's good.
So the caps did their job, so now it's time to go ahead and take the rest of this little wall down and get it cleaned up. So any boxes that were just supplying straight power and were not connected to things like the dishwasher or the garbage disposal, things like that, I just went ahead and clipped them, pulled them out, and got rid of them. Now you could just go through and sledgehammer and sawzall everything, and that's not really a problem in most cases. The reason I took my time with a lot of this though was that by cutting it in small pieces I was able to get rid of the debris quickly, and I kept the floors and everything clean. It's just very satisfying when you start pulling out the last big pieces and they're breaking loose and coming out. just like that, everything's down, everything's clean. So some of the things you're going to notice, if you look close to the post, the plumbing is actually out of the post and much closer to the viewer. That's going to cause me a little problem later. Some of the other things you'll notice is I'm going to have to fix some of the floor. So I'll have to knock out the floor where the new cabinet's going to be and patch the spots where it's not. If you notice the orange posts, I have new boxes of flooring there. That helps an awful lot. The customer saved some of that from the original install. If you're installing new cabinets, put your floor down first and you won't have that problem. Another interesting thing here is the pipe was not sloped correctly, and that pipe was full of sludge. You're going to get cold water sludge anyway, but this one was extremely packed. So be sure you get that 1/4 inch slope, because it definitely will help, and try not to ever put any type of grease or anything down your drains. Notice on the right how far out the water lines are sticking, and they used a metal plate to try to protect them. That is definitely going to cause me a problem. Here's a quick view of the before and after demo. Hope to see you guys on the next episode, where we're going to start installing the cabinets and get ready for plumbing, electrical, and the quartz top.